I'll try. This N6PGQ. I don't have a script in front of me, but let me get who we have here for slow scan tonight. Let me get all your calls. Did I double with someone, N6PGQ? Okay, well, Joel, why don't you start us out?
Need double check. Do I have...
Phone is good.
PD 120.
Okay, Joel, the quality is really good. I'm going to let Carol comment in just a second. This is the River City Arc Slow Scan Net, and we meet every Tuesday night. No, never mind. Today's Wednesday. We meet every Wednesday night. Sorry. At about 9 o'clock local to practice our skills at sending images. And Joel has sent us a really good picture. I'll comment a little bit. No pixel pops. And I'll let Carol have it. Go ahead, KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. And beautiful picture. You can see what I copied. I have it posted up on YouTube. And it's that Spanish paddle, the iambic paddle. It looks like you did an awesome job on cleaning it up. It looks like you might have even waxed the wood base there. It looks like it's brand new. Very nice and shiny brass parts there too. And there's another thing there that's not related to the key, and it looks like you've got some kind of a filter. It's I don't know. I see some ceramic disc capacitors, and some little blue axial lead components, which I'm guessing are probably inductors, forming some parallel. I think they may be parallel resonant tune circuits there, and there's a coupling capacitor between either side there in the middle on a PC board, and then there's a couple of pigtails with BNC connectors. Looks like you made some kind of a band pass or a band reject filter. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's a neat little construction there, and you have some kind of like a universal PC board where you could make different types of combinations of components for your filter circuits there. I'll turn it back to Nat. This is KP4 Mike Delta.
Okay, Carol, thank you for your information, and I will comment. Quality's good, very, very few pixel pops. If this was the same key we saw before, you've done a really, really nice job cleaning it up. It's all polished and fancy. And I don't know what the circuit board is on the front that's connected with two BNC connectors. They don't appear to have a way to connect with the key, so I don't think they're related. So, Joel, it's your turn to tell us all about it. AI6DG and 6PGQ.
Yeah, we're doing a show and tell tonight, or at least I am, and this is combining a couple of recent projects. And yep, that's the key I've been working on. And it turned out really nice. The brass all cleaned up nicely, and it's probably brighter and shinier than it was when it was new, and in particular the wood base, like you noticed, came out really nice. I took a little Dremel tool felt wheel to it, and it just shined up and brought out the grain, and so now I just need to learn how to use it and learn how to read Morse code. And that is a filter. It's the high-pass filter. It's to block out the AM broadcast band. We recently picked up from, actually, since Pacificon, I picked up a Xiegu X6100 transceiver I've been messing with. And the first time I tried it, I got absolutely nothing out of it, no audio, no sound at all, even though I had it on an antenna and was tuning to FT8 frequencies. And I think I figured that problem out, in that the power button's a bit picky. You've got to actually read the instructions and do what they say. You've got to hold it until the Xiegu logo appears on the display and then let go. And apparently sometimes if you're not picky in adhering to that, it'll power up and not everything powers up right, and you've got a dead receiver. So once I figured that out, I started getting audio, but I had a terribly high noise floor and crashes and all kinds of weird noises across all the bands. Let it drop. And I finally figured out that I was hearing very distorted voices, and in some places I could hear radio stations that sounded like broadcast stations where I shouldn't, because it's in the middle of a ham band, and realized I was probably getting front-end overload from AM broadcast stations. And a quick Google indicated that, like many cheap or low-end SDRs, the X6100 is susceptible to front-end overload from broadcast bands. So this is what I built, and it works like a champ. I mean, it's like a whole different radio. All of a sudden, it actually is almost as good as the Ellicroft KX2 I have. It's not as good, which makes sense considering it's like almost half the price. But this is so simple. A $10 kit from QRPme.com. It's one little circuit board that I glued to another circuit board, and the first circuit board's got a bunch of little pads on it that you can solder components to. So the top row of pads has just got a wire going all the way across, soldered to each of the pads, and that's the shield passing through. And then the center of the coax on the bottom has, like Carol mentioned, there's three caps going across. and in between the center cap, on each side of that, you've got an inductor going to ground, and it's total success. I don't know why they didn't just put this into the radio to begin with. Although, how much of the world even has AM broadcast stations anymore? Maybe they just don't realize or think of issues like that. Back to net, AI6DG.
Okay, very good, Joel. Carol, do you have something to show us this evening?
Yeah, I got to push the button here to start talking. Yeah, come to think of it, looking at that high-pass filter, I can see now it's a typical 5-pole high-pass filter with capacitor input on both sides. It's a symmetrical filter, and it's got the two inductors there going to ground from the junction of the two capacitor on either side of the center one. That's really good. As a matter of fact, Phil KD6RM gave a talk at the last River City Arcs meeting about his attacking problems with AM broadcast interference from KFBK. It seems to be one of the strongest signals around here. They run 50 kilowatts AM on 1530, I believe, and they have I don't know if it's full wave antennas, or they have two complete vertical half-wave dipoles. That's what it is. You know, a lot of these broadcast stations, they operate a quarter wave against ground radial system. Well, KFBK actually has half-wave dipoles, and so they actually have higher gain than the typical quarter wave monopole antenna, and they've got two of them phased. So they put out the highest field strength locally of any AM broadcast station in the United States, and AM broadcast is still very active. It's the good thing about AM broadcast is it's got good coverage beyond the range of line of sight that FM stations have. So when you're traveling on the interstate between cities, very often you'll receive the AM stations where you won't get FM stations. And of course, a lot of people have satellite radio now, but if you're dealing with regular standard broadcast, AM will have better regional coverage than these FM line of sight stations. So I don't see any plan to immediately give up AM broadcasting. They're putting out an awful lot of kilowatts on that piece of spectrum. Very good. Well, I do have a picture to send. I'm going to stand by first of all to see if there's any other responses to my comments. It's KP4MD.
Well, I'll comment a little bit. Yeah, I heard Phil's presentation, and if I ever get on 160, I'm going to have to do something about it, because KFBK is about 5 miles from me, and I can see the tower from my driveway. Anyway, Carol, it's your turn. KP4MD and 6PGQ.
Okay, KP4MD, yes. Direct conversion receivers especially, like my little, the little 2-transistor radio that I put together with the DIY radio group. And I hooked that up to an antenna, and the only thing I was hearing was KFBK giving the news. That's the only thing. I could not pick up anything on 40 meters until I put a filter to knock that out. I used a different type of filter. It was a notch filter to knock out the strong AM stations, and that did wonders. It did absolute wonders. Okay, I'm going to send this PD120. This is Kilo Papa for Mike Delta.
Wow, Carol. That's interesting. And to me, it came across very well. There was the ID about a third of the way down the picture, which kind of scrambled things up. But what I see is a graveyard with what looks to me like an electron microscope image of a virus. It's got the little spikes on the thing and clouds and all that kind of stuff around the graveyard, and a little bit of fog. And it says they rest with Magritte, and I can't pronounce the first part, but it has a virus at the end. And so I'm going to be interested to see where you got this. It's kind of interesting. So, Joel, your comment, N6PGQ.
Yep, I don't have much to add to that. Kind of a pretty cemetery photo, if there is such a thing, with clouds in the background and a superimposed thing, which I agree, I think is the virus, although it doesn't have the traditional look. But then, for all I know, this is the real thing, and the traditional look is not terribly accurate. French in the bottom. N6NA SSTV virus, or I don't know. Again, how do you pronounce it? How do you even pronounce Magritte? Magritte? Is it a French pronunciation, Spanish pronunciation? They rest with. So there's a story, and I look forward to hearing it. Back to Net AI6DG.
Okay, Joel. Carol, it's your turn. Why don't you explain it to us?
Okay, this is KP4MD. This is the product of a overactive, feverish mind. affected by COVID. This was it was the second day I had COVID-19, and I had fever. I woke up in the morning with this image in my mind, and fever can cause tricks and make you imagine stuff. So I had this image of just about this kind of thing, where it was a nighttime scene of a graveyard, where instead of a moon, what you had was the COVID virus hanging in the sky in the place of the moon. And so I looked up, I did a search on Google, and I found the appropriate images would look just like what I had dreamt about. And I did a little photoshopping. If you use the Microsoft 3D Paint program, you can select an image and pretty much superimpose it like that over a background, and it looks like it actually is part of the picture. So I said, this is just about what I was dreaming about. And the connection there with Magritte, if for those who might have learned a little bit of art appreciation way back in high school or college, René Magritte was a Belgian surrealist painter who lived around the beginning of the 20th century. And being a surrealist, what he was noted for was putting starkly absurd combinations of topics in his paintings, juxtaposing things in order to make a point. So he had a very, very famous painting, which was just a painting of a pipe. You might remember that. A painting of a pipe, a smoker's pipe. And it had a caption under it. And it said, "Ceci n'est pas un pipe," which means this is not a pipe. And clearly, it's a picture of a pipe. So people were asking him, how come you say it's not a pipe when it's very clearly a pipe? And he said, well, if it's a pipe, smoke it then. And of course you can't smoke it because it's just the image of a pipe, which is the point he was making. But it raises, raises a question in your mind. The representation of thing is not the same thing as the thing itself. Well, here, the image and the referral that I'm making to here, they rest with Magritte, was that the people who are there in the cemetery, they were saying that was not a virus, and that's what that says in French. Cela n'était pas un virus. So they're in denial. They didn't believe the existence of COVID. They didn't take any of the precautions for public health, and unfortunately they succumbed to the virus. And they're looking up there from the graveyard at very clearly the evidence in the sky that this is a virus, and they say, nope, that was not a virus. So it's kind of a strange thought, a strange juxtaposition, but it was going through my mind when I was suffering through the virus, and also thinking of the people I know who were deniers, who unfortunately we've lost also to the COVID pandemic. So that's it. Back to you there, Bob. This is KP4MD.
Well, very nice, Carol. I was thinking that might have been something that you found on. Impressed with your creativity. It's very nice. Well, we don't have very many people tonight, but I'm going to send one, and you guys get to tax your memory and see what you think from last time. This is going to be PD 120. Okay, hopefully that worked. Joel, it's your turn.
This is nearly a repeat of the image from last week, in that it's your station with your computers and all of your equipment. Differences are, it looks like the station's actually in use because you've got a really nice display and waterfall on the screen in the center. And it's dark outside, not the nice sunlit view we had last week. So is this you operating during the contest this past weekend? Back to Net AS6TG.
Well, no, this was about 20 minutes before the net, before the 2-meter net, as usual. So it's a fairly recent picture. So I'll let Carol comment, and then I will make a comment.
Okay, this is KP4MD. I recognize the KPA 500 on the left. I think that's an FT847 to the right of that. And to the right of that is another radio. Gee whiz, with a big waterfall. And it's being projected also on that display. I'm not sure what that radio is. I know it's not the K3. This must be the another new SDR radio that you have. And a nice boom microphone there, pointing straight into the camera. Picture came through very well. It looks like two laptop computers with apples on the covers, and then your paddle, iambic paddle, with a looks like a plastic cover, a clear plastic cover on the right side. And I see your little card there with the band plan, the new ARRL band plan card sitting in front of the iambic paddle. I can't recognize everything that's up on the top shelf there, but they look like all the probably VHF radios. Those are low mobile radios. So back to you. This is KP4MT.
Well, good observations. Yeah, the key to the left of the paddle is a Old Navy flameproof. So that's all the same, and the top shelf is all the same. But I lost my K3 and my fan adapter and just put in a K4. So that's where it is on my shack. And it worked real well in the few hours I practiced in the contest. But I was absolutely unable to hear anything on the 10-meter net, so it's gone deaf, and I don't know what the deal is, if it's the radio or the antenna or whatever. Transmitting, it's putting power out, but I don't have any audio, so I have to do some exploring. Anyway, that's the story about that.
Yeah, congratulations on the K4, and I know that's a big step up from the K3. I guess there was some questions about the receiver performance compared to the K3, being that it's an SDR, but I think they did something to try to improve that. I'm not sure what the story was with that. But I'm sorry that that's not working on 10 meters. Maybe, these radios have got so many different settings and controls and menus. There might be something that's just a little bit off. Or perhaps you say, has it ever received 10 meters? Or has it been completely deaf from when you first got it on 10 meters?
No, I made a whole bunch of contacts on 10 meters in the contest and turned it back on and pushed the band button, and the antenna tuned correctly. And all I have is static, and I could hear a few of the stations way in the background, but I couldn't hear you at all. So I'll have to do some exploring.
Yeah, maybe there's an attenuator turned on that you're not aware of, and it's easy to do that. There's so many things to look at on the display. There could be some attenuator turned on that you're not aware of.
Okay, well, that's a good place to start. I want to thank you for your comment. Do we have any other comments tonight for the net? Okay, well, with that, we'll probably call it a night. This slow scan net meets on the River City ARC's 440 machine after all the other nets are over, and we practice sending pictures to each other, and hopefully we'll have a few more people here next week. I think Neil's in San Francisco right now, headed home, so that should be one more person. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and hope you all have a nice day tomorrow. This is N6PGQ for the River City ARC's Slow Scan Net.
Yeah, thank you very much for stepping in and taking net control, helping with that. You did a wonderful job, Bob, and I'm really happy for your K4. I was looking at, I think the retail price, and it was at $4,500. That is, wow, that is quite an investment. I guess it's somewhere up around like the Flex radios, but it's a top performer. So I'm glad you're getting some enjoyment with it. And just a question. I'm not very familiar with that radio. Does that cover, what bands does that normally cover with out of the box, Albert?
Well, out of the box, it's 160 through 6 meters. I guess you can get some Mars modifications to go a little bit past the amateur frequencies. Some people have been complaining that it doesn't do a real good job, but the filters are not designed to be broadbanded. So it's just, a regular radio. They're going to apparently put a transverter option available. And if you look at the price, I think you looked at the radio without the tuner and maybe not the D model.
Okay, yeah, so it's a lot higher than what I said. And of course the transverter is going to be an arm and a leg. When I got my KX3, I decided to load it to the max with all of the accessories, and that was a pretty penny back then, that's for sure. But my KX3 was $999, and they're going now for what, almost $1,500 with no upgrades. It's just amazing the way the price of electronics has gone up.
Well, I think we're kind of lucky we can even get electronic devices at the moment with the way that the chip shortages are floating around. Yeah, I think, Carol, it sounds something like it might be an attenuator thing, so I'm going to have to find a manual and see where it is and try to turn it off.
I'm a bit surprised how much the 7300s are still. I mean, they haven't gone down. They're still just as expensive as they were when they first came out.
Yeah, and they'll probably creep up, too. You always used to comment that the 7300s have killed the used amateur radio market. But, back to Carol, I'll comment that, I saved up all my playing money and spent it at Watsonville.
Yeah, I would say that, the normal effect that you would see of the price coming down after a while probably has been offset by inflation. And I think that's the reason why it's setting at the same amount. after all these years. That's going to be my guess. And, but also the supply chain issues and all kinds of stuff that's going on in the world right now. It's the economy is in chaos. There's no question about that. Okay, thank you again for running the net. You did a wonderful job, and this was an interesting net, although we had a little, small group. So I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and looking forward to doing this again next Wednesday. Thank you. 730, all this is KP4MD.
Okay, 73, everyone, N6PGQ.